I mean, shit, if by the age of 5 or 6 the story ended there, it would have been a picture perfect tale. But very quickly that marriage kind of deteriorated. So long story short, my stepdad stayed with my mom for some tax benefits. He claimed non-tax residency in the UK, and because we were here, he was able to still have quite a few properties and whole complicated stuff. Anyways, long story short.
So there was a benefit for him to stay within the marriage.
Yeah, that was a benefit for him. Benefit for me and my mom was we lived in what was, towards the end, definitely was a very broken home. I kind of mentioned to you earlier, in the last 3 years that I was in my childhood home, there was no warm water, like there was no heating, no warm water. And I said my stepdad was a very complicated character. When he found out I was building a business, he actually cut the Wi-Fi. So funny enough, that's actually why I'm still with 3, the service provider. Back in 2015, they had a thing where for £25 a month, they'd let you do like unlimited hotspot.
Yeah.
So yeah, funny enough, 6 years on, that's still why I'm with them. I used to just hotspot off my phone, and yeah, as I said, unfortunately, there's no Wi-Fi. He was said quite a complicated character.
So how long were you in London for until it became a bit of a broken home within your family?
So it was probably, things were they definitely weren't perfect, but it wasn't unbearable. Probably until the age of probably until like 9 or 10, and then when I was 11 years old, he cut us off fully. And as I said, I saw some things that you probably shouldn't see when you're that young, and there's a lot of stuff I really block out, but there's some vivid memories. I remember when I was 8 years old, there's a ring on the home phone. I pick it up. I'm like, hello. I'm like, hi, this is London Escorts, something along those lines. And I was like, oh, hi, like in my little kid voice, like, hi, we're looking for we're looking to reach Mr. So-and-so.
Yeah.
And I remember I put the phone down. My mom goes, who is that? Who was that? I was like, oh, it was London Escorts. And my stepdad was coming back from a business trip. And yeah, he only ever spent like 3 months a year in London. So he really wasn't around that much. And I remember I told him, I was like, oh, it was London Escorts. And there's no surprise, but there was a little bit of sadness in her face. And I was like, no, you don't understand. Like, and I had a rough understanding, even at that age, of what that meant.
Yeah.
I remember I was like, no, you don't understand. Like, they escort him from like the airport to like the house. Like, it's like a driving company.
Yeah.
So as I said, I grew up very quick in a lot of ways. But things were bearable until I was like 10 or 11. And then it said when he cut us off fully, the next 5-6 years were quite tough.
But when he cut you off, were you still living in Chelsea, or did you have to move out?
No, still living.
Still living in Chelsea. Okay, then. Yeah.
As I said, that was kind of our 2 benefits, is we got to live in Chelsea.
Yeah.
Although a very broken home, in the most literal sense. I mean, things were like caving in. It had been refurbished for 20 years. And as I said, I got to go to private school.
Yeah.
Which was, although I look back and it all makes sense, and it's all like, wow, I could not have been any better suited for where I am today. Going to private school and seeing how the wealthy people operate and how they carry themselves, but then coming home and having that fire of like, it's so funny as well, like people always try to discredit people who come from good families. Like, they're like, oh yeah, but he comes from a good family. I actually think that's more impressive. Like, as in, if you actually go out and make something for yourself, you don't just get a job from your father's connection.
They always say people are hungry, like they always say people who come from the bottom are the most hungry.
Exactly.
Which is obviously impressive. But then people who are hungry, who come from good families and good homes, and let's just say they're financially stable, if they're hungry and they're going out there to do something for themselves,
I think that is so incredibly impressive. And by the way, like, let alone like stable, I mean, like, if you come from a very wealthy family where you don't really need to work to get the benefits of what building a business or you're building up your career, this or that, provides for you, I said I think that's very impressive. As I said, I still block out a lot of stuff from that period of my life.